Good morning. It is Sunday, November 30th at 8 a.m. And there's so much that's flowing through my mind to say, to express, to learn, to relearn, to re-inform myself about. And I thought I would just pop on here and do a quick video on how to graciously and gently release an old belief system. I personally have been doing a lot of work of reintegrating new understanding alongside with ancient wisdom within me and around me into my new reality. And so I thought I would just do a quick awareness exercise that you can take with you, because there's a lot of big words being thrown around the time of, or the era that it is right now, or what is happening in the world. And it's very sensational and it's great for headlines and the algorithm and the news, but it is horrendous for our nervous systems and absolutely useless in terms of actually getting us to a functioning place where we're optimizing and harnessing our energy in a useful way. So I want to think about integration as, how do we invite something new in and make room for it to live and breathe and develop and become more real than something we used to believe, if in our practical reality. So integration is like bringing in some of the new ideas, letting them breathe and see how we feel about it and how we be with it. And then I had to move myself from the shared space. So coming back to the integration of an idea, an old idea, and a new idea into our current reality, and an old belief or idea or way of being into a new reality. And how do we bring those things together? How do we integrate them without violently tearing down something that is no longer true for us, and maybe something that we have some kind of visceral relationship to? So, which has been my own experience with understanding of different realities of the world, as well as perspectives that were imposed on me that were always hurtful to me, and never had my best interest in mind. And so, you know, when you see the reality of those things, there's a lot of pain. In my case, there's a lot of trauma, not just I believe that somebody hurt me, but actually trauma stuck in my body, a physiological response in the tissues and the nervous system to the way people interact with me because of this training and this abandonment of self through the cult teachings, basically. And so one of the things that I have found very valuable for me has been to understand the root intention of the thing from a perspective that serves me. So, for example, let's use a current real life example. So Christmas. I never grew up celebrating Christmas. I was told it was bad, 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 because some king wanted to kill Jesus, right? So that's what I was told. And I learned this as a child. That's like my child translation of what Christmas is. And so for me today, Christmas is a beautiful feeling. It's a beautiful sentiment. It's something I've gotten to experience as a celebration. But I also have an understanding that for a very spiritually, religiously, and a group of people that actually are a whole bloodline, Christmas is a very confrontational ceremony, if you will, or observation, or concept, however you want to come at it, whether it's commercial or religious or just good vibes only, because it is a beautiful season. It's like the only time as a capitalist society that we have a right to think about others. So for me, it's just this beautiful magic and beauty and this opportunity to decorate and experience our souls in the tangible world, if you will, because it's that loving kindness, it's that community environment, it's that generosity, it's what comes naturally to us that we've contained. So the ideas that were told to me, I'm not going to dismiss that is true for a lot of people, and that felt true for me at some time, whether I was fully buying into the story or with skepticism or with my heart really saying, well, that just doesn't land. So how do I then integrate what I knew and what I know today? I refer to my Bible study and my religious training as often as military training and as what's the other as philosophical training, because ultimately this is somebody's philosophy on life. And while we've built entire cultures and societies and we've extinct cultures and communities over these belief systems here in the Americas, at the end of the day, this is the reality that we all come from, and this is the collective trauma that we're healing, right? Collectively, we've done harm onto each other, or we have belief systems that create separateness or otherness, or that use our own nature against us for the greater good of those in power. And so when we take the time to integrate in a gentler way within our physiology what we've learned, what was the intention, what were our forefathers trying to create, what was the egalitarian values that resonated within the benevolent patriarchy, right? And how were we able to successfully build so many systems that did have long-lasting relationships, but that absolutely do not work with the science and the evolution of our species today? So it's understanding what were they trying to do. And that takes effort. Yes, we are in pain. We are the ones experiencing the harm from that belief system in our physiology, through shame, patterning in our bodies, through muting our voices around powerful people, through abandoning ourselves in basic self-care, and in basic value systems, because the greater society values nothing but survival, in the form of money and power. And so I am doing the work of learning to bring in and articulate that new understanding in a different way. But ultimately, that is the practice. What were they trying to get at? And this requires us to put the effort in to say, what files, like think of physical files in your brain, what files were they working with? What understandings, what belief systems were they starting with? Because we can evaluate it all we want from now and say they were wrong and this was right. But if we don't understand the original intention, we're tearing down something without actually understanding the problem they were trying to solve. So, and when we do that within our bodies, we create a physiological split. It's almost like a fight and a war within our own physiology, because part of us was committed to that, and the other part of us was hurt by that belief system. And so going back to the Christmas story, and then how we relate to it today, sure, we can walk around and saying, oh, this is wrong or this is right and you should believe this and you should believe that. But I think a more valuable practice for each of us to be autonomous and sovereign is to say, well, that person believes that for this reason. And so I understand that that makes them operate in this way. And then we bring it back to ourselves, because it's always, we're the ones in the world. We are the one common denominator everywhere we go, dead or alive. So, and why do I say dead or alive? Because even if you're a materialist and you believe that when you die, nothing happens and that you don't have any other level of consciousness, then even if you believe that, there's so much evidence now on the contrary. And historically, there's so much evidence that our forefathers who built this city basically believed very similar things. So in your own writings, in your own philosophies, but these generations, we don't know, we don't have the history we don't have the root cause, because we've been numbed out of our how many give a fucks we have, basically. So we don't worry about anything but ourselves, what's here right now. And we think, because we have so much technology and progress and modernity, we are just so much smarter. Like, we just think we don't need the wisdom of our ancestors or our forefathers. Like, we're stupid. Sorry, but we kind of are. But stupid is a choice. It's not a condemnation, right? To be stupid is to stoop to less than, right? You stoop, right? So You went below your capacity to know and learn. So integration is about, and the best way to integrate is to do it in a gentle way. Because if we want to do violence, to tear it down, and I don't want that, we can absolutely do that. You do you, boo. But you're the only one paying the consequences in your physiology, because you're orchestrating a whole world of hormones in your entire body, and nobody but you can help you with that. So integration really can be done in so many different ways, but the way that I have found very valuable is to go ahead and try to understand. And the skill that this builds is called empathy. And when we build the skill of empathy and understanding together, that together creates a gentle transition into integration, into a new reality. I hope this has added some value. I'm working on a few different ideas around the Christmas story, and I hope to really share what I am bringing forward into my celebratory, because I don't personally ever want to miss Christmas again. I missed it last year while I was in jail, and I started celebrating Christmas, and obviously they celebrated Christmas in jail, and they did a lot of nice things for us, but it's just it's just, I didn't get to give gifts. I didn't get to decorate in the same way. And so the lesson for me is I will never allow that spirit to be dampened again, no matter where I am. And secondly, I really want to process the trauma behind being told what to believe and what not to believe around joy, around what gives you joy, and what promotes generosity and kindness, and how to see through the veil of vain intention and what's the word I'm looking for? Advantageous narratives that use our goodness to their own petty goals. And so I'm going to be processing a lot of that. I'm already going back to make connections around the belief systems and the stories that we know and how we hear them, and then how we look in between the lines of the story. I started honing this practice of what are they really saying, or what does it really mean as a kid, because when you're a kid, like, you don't have the programming yet to say, well, I shouldn't believe that. You just look at it and you're like, well, that doesn't make sense, or, well, I don't like that, or that kind of hurts me, and that's not fair. Not fair is a big one as a kid, when you're learning the balance, right? In that kind of two-dimensional thinking, well, if I get this and they get that, or trying to see parallels in things. And so a feature of trauma is that I remember a lot of the thoughts that I had as a kid that didn't make sense to me. And so I get to revisit those thoughts as an adult from a research lens, and gently integrate the old and bring in new information so that I don't have to have a fear response every time I'm up against something that rubs me the wrong way from the old brainwashing days. So, yeah, I just wanted to throw this on here. And I do want to say thank you to the friends that are watching this, that are on your journey of sovereignty, your own sovereignty. Because I've been laughed and mocked and thrown around and jailed and told I'm alone. Really, they tried to make me believe that I can't take care of myself, that I can't live in this world, that I can't be okay because of everybody else's fears and philosophies of life and ignorance of neuroscience and our somatic physiology, and their arrogance and self-righteousness of thinking that shamanic ways are primitive when they are really our primal wisdom that we can see translated in the animal kingdom, and in animals, in the way they process energy and live and survive in community, in nature and the environment. And so, as you awaken to yourself and your own sovereignty, and that you don't have to bow down to that one sovereign Señor Soberano, that you are your own sovereign, that you have your own electromagnetic signature, and that you are a beautiful being, that you have not been abandoned by your source light, and that you don't need to be told how to be in the world. You get to discover that on your own, in your own developmental timeline. And you get to heal the trauma in your own time. And I hope that when people tell you that you're alone and that you really are fearful of that thorny crown, don't worry about it. You're not alone. Many of us have done it before you. And there are more than 8 million people out in the world surviving just fine without them telling you how to think and be. Okay? I love you, friends. I have never left you. I had to figure it out my own way. And if 8 million of you are watching right now, know that we are that powerful the way they trained us our God is. But we don't have to bow down to anybody for it. But we do have to work really hard to learn how to harness it and to deserve to use it independently. But it is now the era where we must be held accountable. And we cannot be told by organizations, our network, our followers, or our governments how to think and be. Because we now know in the science that our bodies are bringing Armageddon. They are tearing down our old belief systems and bringing back ancient wisdom that we don't need anybody outside of us to harness. It's in us. And I hope that y'all will stop trying to keep teaching these myopic narratives and stop hiding your own power from yourselves. I love you.